So after watching the Diablo 4 developer update for Lord of Hatred, I actually think this expansion is looking much bigger than just another campaign update. At first, I thought this was going to be the usual thing, new region, new story, a few new system, and then we all go back to farming the same demons again. But the more they show, the more it feels like they are trying to rebuild a lot of Diablo 4 from the inside. And honestly, that is the part that makes this update interesting, because this expansion is not only about Mephisto. It looks like they are trying to fix some of the biggest problems Diablo 4 has always had, especially build variety, crafting, loot farming, boss farming, and endgame progression. Very quickly on the story side, yes, we are going to Skull Wars, yes, Mephisto is the big threat, and yes, this continues the Age of Hatred storyline. But I'm not gonna pretend like I'm the biggest lore scholar here. I know some players love the deep story, the ancient history, Themis, Skull Wars, and all those background details, and that is totally fine. But for me personally, I'm not really here to write a century history book. I'm here to slay demons, test builds, farm loot, and see whether this expansion actually makes the game more fun to play. So the setting looks cool, the story sounds important, but the real question is, what are we actually doing after the cutscenes are over? So let's jump straight into the gameplay updates. The first big thing is the skill tree overhaul. I think this might be one of the best moves Blizzard can make for Diablo 4. Right now, a lot of builds can feel too locked in. You pick the strongest skill, follow the strongest modifier, copy the meta setup, and suddenly half of the player base is playing almost the same thing. Once the meta is solved, it feels like the choice has already been made for you. So this new skill tree direction sounds really good, because it gives players more ways to shape the same skill into different playstyle. Instead of one skill only having one correct build, maybe the same skill can support multiple directions depending on how you modify it. And that is exactly what the game needs. More build diversity, more personal choices, and more room to experiment. The Hydra example they show is a good one. Instead of choosing simple damage upgrade, you can actually change how the skill behaves. You can change the attack speed, trigger explosion, make it work differently, or even turn it into Frost Hydra so it works with Frost build. That is the kind of build craft Diablo 4 needs, because you are not just choose more damage, you are changing the identity of the skill. The Druid and Necromancer changes also sound pretty interesting. For Druid, being able to define whether certain skill use werewolf, werebear, or human form could make shape-shifting smoother and less dependent on specific gear. For Necromancer, splitting race skeletons into skeletal mages and skeletal warriors means minion builds should have more real customization. And the sacrifice change is interesting too, because sacrificing does not completely remove your ability to summon minions as long as you invested point and put them on your bar. That could open up more hybrid builds instead of forcing players into all minion or no minion setups. Next, we have the Talisman system. From what they explain, you apply a seal to unlock charm slot, and the stronger the seal, the more affixes and charm slot you can use. Then you place charms into those slots to gain extra powers, bonuses, and even set charms effect. I actually like this idea, because it brings back the excitement of set bonuses without forcing your entire armor setup into one fixed gear set. Your armor, weapons, uniques, aspect, and paragon still matter, while charms add another layer on top. But of course, if one set charms becomes the best for every build, then everyone will just use the same thing again. So hopefully they give us enough good options where players can actually experiment. And then we have the return of the Horadric Cube. This is probably the feature that made a lot of old school Diablo players pay attention immediately. The Horadric Cube is not just some random crafting station, it is one of the most iconic systems in Diablo history. In Diablo 2, the cube had this feeling of mystery. You put things inside, tested recipes, upgraded items, and sometimes discovered something useful. So seeing it return in Diablo 4 is a big nostalgic moment. But more importantly, it could finally make crafting feel deeper. In Lord of Hatred, the cube can be used to transmute, customize, and create gear, consumable, talisman items, and socketable. It can add, remove, and reroll affixes, upgrade items, craft unique charms, and help with rune transformation. That matters because more control over crafting means the endgame chase might feel less random. And if the cube has secret recipe, you already know the community is going to throw every random item inside like they are cooking soup in hell. Itemization is also getting some big changes. Common, magic, and rare items will still matter because they can be used as crafting bases with the Horadric Cube. That means not every non-legendary item is automatically trash anymore. They can roll ancestral, they can contain greater affixes, and they can be upgraded as you progress. Unique and mythic items can now be tempered too, which is huge, because uniques are supposed to feel exciting, but sometimes they lose value because they cannot compete with well-tempered legendary items. So this change could make unique and mythic feel much better in the long run. Gems are also getting stronger, especially weapon gem effect. They are adding 2 new tiers of gems, Horadric and Flawless Horadric. These are created using the amalgamation recipe in the Horadric Cube. So again, the cube is not there just for nostalgia, it is directly tied to character power, gearing, and progression. Another endgame change I really like is the Lair Boss system. Every Lair Boss now has its own dedicated pool for unique items, and this is great for target farming. Instead of spending material, killing bosses, and hoping for the best, now players can be more intentional. You know which boss you want to farm, you know what item you are chasing, and the whole process should feel less random. They are also reducing boss key friction. Lair bosses now share a single key, and greater lair bosses share another key. That means less inventory clutter, less material confusion, and less time managing different summoning items like you are running a demon grocery store. Buttock and Astaroth are also being added into the Lair Boss system, and the Butcher is becoming a greater Lair Boss in both Seasonal and Eternal realms. That one is actually cool, because the Butcher has always been that random panic moment. You hear, fresh meat, and suddenly everyone confident disappear. So turning him into a proper greater Lair Boss makes a lot of sense. Now, the system I'm watching closely is War Plans, because this is where Diablo 4 endgames really needs help. Instead of jumping randomly from Nightmare Dungeon, to Helltide, to Pit, to Boss Farming, to Inferno Horde, you can create a chain of endgame activities. Basically, it becomes your own endgame playlist. You choose what you want to run, what rewards you want to chase, and then move through those activities in order. After finishing one activity, you can teleport straight to the next one. And if you do not have the right sigil, War Plans can generate one for you. And each activity has its own unique skill tree. As you complete activities inside a war plan, you gain experience toward that activity own skill tree. So if you keep running Nightmare Dungeons, you progress the Nightmare Dungeon tree. If you keep doing Helltide, you progress the Helltide tree. If you focus on the Pit, Inferno Horde, or bosses, those activities can grow and change too. This activity skill tree let you customize how each activity plays. You can change the rewards, tweak monster spawn, and even bring features from one activity into another. That is a very cool idea, because one of the biggest problems with Diablo 4 endgame is that activities can feel too separate and repetitive. But if War Plans let us modify those activities and mix some features together, then farming could feel much more flexible. You are not only improving your character anymore, you are improving the way you farm. Another smaller change they mentioned, but I think it matters a lot, is the removal of elixirs and incense. And honestly, I am okay with this. For a long time, elixirs were not really exciting. Most players just use them for the XP bonus. It became another checklist before farming. Open inventory, drink elixir, maybe use incense, check the timer, then start grinding. It was not deep gameplay, it was just a habit. Now, instead of forcing players to maintain temporary XP buff, monsters will give more experience directly, and I think that is a clear direction. If I'm killing demons, just reward me for killing demons. Don't make me feel like I'm losing efficiency because I forgot to drink a potion before entering a dungeon. Less buff management, less timer watching, more killing. For me, that is a good change. We are also getting quality of life update like the loot filter, map overlay, and pathfinder. And honestly, the map overlay is something they should have added a long time ago. Diablo 2 already had this, and many ARPGs also have it. So it is kind of crazy that Diablo 4 took this long to finally get one, because constantly looking at the minimap can be annoying, especially when the minimap is so small, enemies are everywhere, loot is dropping, and you are trying to figure out where to go next. With a proper map overlay, navigation should feel much more smoother because you can see the map directly while still playing. The loot filter is also a big one because players have been asking for this forever. You can now filter what you actually want to see on the ground, and that alone makes target farming so much easier. Instead of picking up everything, checking every item, and deleting half of your inventory like a professional trash collector, you can filter by things like item power, rarity, ancestral status, greater affixes, uniques, mythic, and even talisman bonuses. So if you are farming for a specific type of gear, specific affixes, or certain upgrades, the game can help you focus on the drops that actually matter. And since filters can be imported and exported, build creator and guide makers can share their own loot filter setup, which will save players a lot of time. This is one of those changes that might not sound as exciting as a new system, but once you start farming for hours, it will probably make the game feel way better. The level cap is increasing to 70 and torment levels are expanding from 4 to 12. That means they want the difficulty curve to stretch further, which is good if the rewards actually match the challenge. And yes, fishing also coming. Somehow, Diablo 4 is getting fishing, and honestly, I don't hate it. Not everything needs to be maximum demon violence every second. Sometimes a casual side activity can make the world feel more alive. So overall, my feeling after watching this developer update is that Lord of Hatred might be one of the most important updates Diablo 4 has received. It touches almost every part of the game: endgame, crafting, loot, skill trees, boss farming, difficulty, quality of life, and long-term progression. But at the same time, I want to keep expectation realistic. Everything sounds amazing during a developer update. The real test is when players actually get their hands on it. War plans need to make endgame better, not just more organized repetition. The Horadric Cube needs to feel meaningful. The Talisman system needs to add variety without becoming another mandatory chore. And the new skill tree need to create real build diversity, not just another way to reach the same meta builds. Still, I have to say, this update does look promising. More build depth, better loot control, stronger crafting, smoother boss farming, smoother endgame progression, less annoying setup, and better quality of life. These are exactly the kind of changes Diablo 4 needs. And that's pretty much my thought after watching the developer update. But now I want to hear from you. Which part of Lord of Hatred are you most excited for? The Horadric Cube, war plans, Lair Boss changes, the new skill trees, or all the system changes coming with this expansion? Drop your thoughts in the comments below. And as always, if you enjoyed this video, make sure to hit the like button, subscribe to the channel, and turn on the notification bell, because I will be covering more Diablo 4 updates, guides, build, farming tips, and everything you need to prepare for a Lord of Hatred. Thanks for watching, and I will see you in the next one.